Come on, girl, let's scream.
I am a god.
No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel. This is the part where you run.
Come on, scream.
Hello, and welcome to Let's Scream, a podcast where we dive into our favorite horror movies. I'm Stevie.
And I'm Parker.
And today we are looking at 2024's Maxxxine, directed by Ty West.
Join us as we journey to Hollywood and learn all about how to be a fucking movie star. Are you ready to scream, girl?
Come on, girl. Let's scream.
Maxxxine.
Okay, so this one's going to be a little bit different than most of ours because we saw this in theaters. And so our notes, we may not be able to be as precise as we are with others. So I would think this will be a fun one to always maybe revisit in the future.
Right, we won't have every little detail.
But if we miss anything that you notice, let us know. We would love to,
please engage with the video and leave a comment. That would be really, really helpful.
Absolutely.
To the pod. Also, while we're here at the top of the pod, please follow us at Let's Scream Pod on YouTube and on Spotify.
Yes.
And on Instagram as well. We have an Instagram account you can follow.
Which we are trying to be better about, sorry.
But yeah, so let's go ahead and give our initial thoughts. It's a new, it's so cool. This is usually on our podcast where we've been doing throwbacks and whatnot. It's fun to give our first little review on something that's brand new.
Yeah.
It's the third movie in the X series that we've been covering the past couple weeks.
Yeah.
And it also stars Mia Goth, just like the first two did, and is directed by Ty West. And this movie is a follow-up to X, the first film in this franchise.
Yes.
So there was a lot of anticipation for this one.
Yes. And
how do we feel?
I really liked it.
Me too.
I thought
it was fun.
Yeah, some people are having mixed opinions, but I've seen mostly a lot of people are saying they really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I think the people who didn't maybe had very just different expectations for this film.
Yeah.
I went in kind of more ooh, what are they going to do with this? Or with certain elements, but I didn't really go in with not going to say high expectations, but I didn't go in with
you didn't have any.
I didn't have this is how I want the story. This is how the story I think should go. I didn't have that. And I think maybe some people did. I don't know. But this one is very different from the first two. But the first two are also, Pearl's different from X. X is different from Pearl. So they're all different types of films.
Yeah.
Because they're all kind of paying a different an homage to a different time period of film.
Yes, precisely. This one's very 80s crime thriller drama.
Yes.
Giallo vibes. We'll get into the
which is what a lot of people are saying.
Yeah. And I didn't have any preconceived notions either. I said in our Pearl review that when they initially announced Maxxxine, I did honestly have a little disappointment right off the bat because I want another Pearl movie. I don't really give a shit about Maxxxine. No offense. Love Mia Goth as Maxxxine, but we'll talk about why her character isn't the most interesting to me.
Yeah.
Especially in this third movie. And we'll get there. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was such a fun ride.
Yeah.
There was parts where I was just cackling. It's in the same vein of the first two where it's definitely, horror. There's some suspenseful moments, but it's pretty campy and a lot of fun.
I think this one, compared to the other two, it's kind of on the ground running, because we're in the middle of the real life street Night Stalker, or the Night Stalker is what he's called.
Night Stalker,
which is a real life crime, a real life serial killer in Los Angeles during the 80s. And so you're kind of starting in the middle of that, so you kind of assume a lot of it's kind of, we'll get into it. I don't want to spoilers, but we'll get into the use of that. And so I kind of like that because there's a lot already kind of going on in the movie compared to X and Pearl, which are kind of more slow burners.
It's a larger scope too.
Yeah,
there's a bigger cast of characters to follow. The narrative is a little bit more ostentatious.
They introduced.
Yeah.
I really liked a lot of the characters.
I've loved every character in this series. They're all really well written and fun. And all the performances are great. Mia Goth turns in another really fun performance. It's, you know, she's not given as much to work with as she was in Pearl. Again, that's kind of my gripe with them going with the Maxxine direction, not the Pearl direction. But hopefully they will return to Pearl, because they did. I mean, he has talked about how he wants to do a 4th movie at this point.
Yeah.
It was originally going to be 3. Now he's like, well, we do have ideas for a 4th one.
Well, was there even, like... Because isn't it kind of more like they did X, and then it was just kind of like...
And Pearl kind of came out of X
and then
naturally.
They were like, well, we might as well do a third one,
because they both did really well.
And so then... And it was only like... It seemed natural to do a third one, follow up with Maxxine.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot they can do.
And yeah, I would say overall... positive vibes from me with this movie.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite of the franchise. It's probably my least favorite of the X Trilogy.
Yeah.
But...
I agree.
Pearl set the bar really high for me. Again, I talked about last week how much I fucking love that movie.
Pearl, I think, is definitely my favorite. But funny enough, when y'all were in the bathroom after we went, I heard somebody say, she was like stalking, she was like, oh, for me it was like X, Maxxine, Pearl. Like, I think she was going to Pearl's her least favorite, which I'm like, I was like, I think that's what this
is like. It is the outlier of the movies. It's the one that's a little more unique.
Yeah.
So I understand.
But I also just think, I think it's a series where it's like, I feel like there's so many opinions on it because the movies are all so good.
They're all solid.
And so different. And very similar to like Jordan Peele with his 3 films. Except his aren't connected.
Right, yeah. It's cool that Ty West connects all this. And yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. I would say nice, give it a watch. It will be fun.
Hour and a half movie.
Yes, that's the thing about these X movies is that they're short.
I thought this one kind of felt really short. I was like, when we got to the climax of it, I was like, oh,
we're
already here?
Yeah.
I was like, dang.
It moves fast. Okay, well, I guess we can give a few negatives also in this early review. Yeah. Because it's not a perfect movie. Yeah. It's very stylized, that's very Giallo of it, and so we'll get into the stylization. But there's a lot of filler, I felt like. There was a lot of really long stylized scene transitions where we're doing a lot of 80s shit, and it's kind of like, I get it, we're in the 80s, like, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe when we point them out. Because again, first watch, it's harder to give.
Of course.
A first watch where I can't, like, stop it and really, like, you know, like, because I will say, I had to leave at a point. So there's a moment where I don't know what the fuck happened, but, like.
True, yeah, well, you didn't miss much.
Yeah, but I had to go to the bathroom, sorry, y'all. My other thing is, I felt it was... The twist, I was predictable.
I predicted it in the first.
We all did.
5. I remember we all like whispered over.
I was like,
each other.
It's
so and so. It's this. It's that. Yeah, and then it happened, and we were like,
yeah. But I also think, I mean, Pearl and X didn't, for me at least, didn't really have big twists. Like we knew Pearl and Howard were fucking weird the whole time.
Yeah.
So, and then we already knew based off of X that Pearl's fucking crazy.
Crazy, yeah.
And you learned it in the first 5 minutes with Mr. Goose.
Yeah. I mean, and again, it's Giallo-inspired. So, like, when you keep that in mind, when you have that mind frame, if you're familiar with the Giallo subgenre, that is very Giallo of it.
But is it Giallo?
But is it fashion? Yeah.
It's fashion.
But, yeah. And, like I kind of hinted at earlier, Maxxine's character is a little generic badass girl. But Mia Goth is such a stellar actress, and she delivers it with such conviction.
Yeah.
That it did still work for me.
Yeah.
And I still enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
But again, that's probably why it sits.
It's not anything we haven't
bottom of my ranking.
Seen before. It's not the range that she has given us with Pearl.
Exactly.
I think Pearl is a better expanded on character than Maxxine.
Mm-hmm.
Maxxine, I don't think is enough.
So,
but that's just me.
Yeah,
I do agree with you on that.
So yeah, those are my negatives, but those are very.
It's still a fun movie.
Yeah, those
I
negatives
was satisfied
are
with it.
reasonable.
I left being rude. I felt like a brand new person.
When you leave the theater and you feel like a brand new person.
I felt like a brand new person when I left that theater.
Yeah, I thought it was a really fun ride, and I'm excited to get into it now. So,
yeah.
Are you ready to scream, girl?
Oh, girl.
Let's scream. Okay, so, again, we've only seen the movie once, and there's not a lot of research on this movie yet. There's not a lot of analysis that's come out of it. So we're not as prepared as we normally are. So, just, again, to give that disclaimer.
Yes.
And if you do not want to be spoiled for Maxxxine, this is a brand new movie. Maybe you haven't seen it yet. Go watch it.
It is currently in theaters. It runs at 104 minutes, y'all. It's the perfect movie length.
I love the length. So go see it and then get back into it, and we can analyze these spoilers. All right. So, Maxxxine. We start out with home video footage of Maxxxine when she's a little girl, and she's doing a dance for her dad who's videotaping her. It is the exact same dance
that Pearl did at her audition.
It's that little hokey pokey little, she's like flapping her hands like a bird and doing that shit. And her dad tells her, and what do I always tell you, baby? And she says, I do not accept. And he goes, no. Say it slow, like you really mean it. Feel every word.
Or else it won't happen.
Or else it just won't even happen. I will not accept a life I do not deserve. Then, we get a quote. This might be one of my favorite parts of the movie. It's this quote, and it says, in this business, until you're known as a monster, you're not a star. And who said it? Betty Davis! It was such a funny reveal, because you're like, oh, that's a cunty quote. Like, who said that?
Betty Davis.
Fucking
and
Davis.
Of course she did.
Of course she did.
Of course she did.
I love
Betty
that.
Fucking Davis.
Fucking love Betty Davis.
And then we are now in 1985 at the Universal Studios lot, and we get a tribute to the barn doors that was at both the beginning of Pearl and X, the aspect ratio. And so it gives you the impression that it's going to zoom out, but Maxxxine walks in and the camera follows her because she's in an addition and the doors close behind her.
It's a soundstage doors instead of barn doors this time.
And so for me personally, immediately took this as, oh, this movie's not going to be like the rest.
Yeah, this one's going to be a little different.
It's going to be different. So, don't have those expectations. So, I think that was a really good choice, personally. I mean, if you're looking at, if you know the movies well and you analyze them, you'll probably notice that. Because I was excited knowing that they did both those movies that way. I was like, oh, what are they going to do for this third one? How are they going to do it? And I was like, oh, a soundstage. That's so smart.
Yeah.
And then when she walked in, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Because we see Maxxxine Minx. She's blonde in this movie. She's gone blonde. She did it. And she looks so cunt. She's got this little, like, denim two-piece outfit on. Her little stilettos.
Vest top.
Pretty sure she has star earrings. I can't remember. Correct me if I'm wrong. But she is here for an audition for a movie role. A big Hollywood movie role. And they're asking her questions. They say, is that your real accent? Which is funny because we all know Maxxxine has that real southern twang. And she has to do a monologue. She gives me Rachel Berry vibes in this monologue because she immediately cries on cue.
Also, it's kind of a monologue. The character, for whatever she's reading for, is going through some like trauma and talking about her trauma.
Yeah. It's so very reflective of what she had
to go through
100%.
to get to where she's at.
Yeah, so she gives the good old Rachel Berry. She cries on cue. They love it.
It's one woman kind of really takes an interest in her, and when she's like, yeah, that's my real accent, she's like, oh. She's like very interested.
Yeah.
And they know that she does porn. They talk about that. They're like, your agent has mentioned that you're very good in the adult film business. Why this? And she's like, well, I'm 30, so I'm too young to be in porn. I'm getting too old to be in porn.
Yeah.
So, I might as well do acting.
Yeah.
Everyone else can. I'm like, I've seen what people do. I can do that.
Yeah.
She's just really cocky about it, which I do kind of love.
That's Maxxxine. You know, she's overcome a lot.
Yeah.
And
she's like, I can do it.
But I just loved when they asked her to get her titties out, and she's like, okay.
Yeah,
It
just shows that. I'm like, no problem.
Yeah. And she walks out super confident. She tells the other girl, she pulls a Willem. Go home.
Go home.
Go home. Go home. Go home.
She's like, y'all might as well go home. I just fucking
nailed it.
That.
And the sign for the audition says, show us your
X Factor.
We see this montage introducing us to the movie's time and setting. We're in LA. It's 1985. We're seeing various clips of pop culture at the time. We're seeing clips from the Night Stalker case, which is a big part of this movie. Interviews with families and friends of victims and how the investigation is going on that. We also see the movement of the religious, the alt-right coming for
Hollywood
over
like violence
and sex,
like promoting violence and sex and like
and that whole movement. And we see these people, the like super religious protesters, throughout the whole movie.
Yeah,
they've got their signs and they
play a big theme. They play into some themes of this movie.
Maxxine goes to her first job as a porn star, where she's been for a while, I guess. She walks past her blonde friend Amber on set, who's currently getting railed by a guy in like a football costume. And she goes to her spot in her dressing room. She has this big ceramic goose.
It's like a cookie jar, but it's full of Coke. And she takes like a bump of it. And I kind of like that because I was like, oh, that's how she gets her rush, is like Coke. And I love how it's Mr. Goose, whereas like Pearl got her rush from killing
Mr. Goose. Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of like, it was like an ode to Mr. Goose.
Mr. Goose. And her friend comes out from her scene and is getting dressed, and she tells her that there's a party in the Hollywood Hills that night if she's interested. But Maxxine says, I gotta work. She's like, Maxxine, all you do is work. But that's because we know about Maxxine, she's gonna do whatever it takes. Yeah. Of course, she's a hard worker.
Yeah.
At her apartment, Maxxine gets a call from her agent who tells her that she did score the part in the movie. We learned that it is a horror sequel, The Puritan 2.
Which is an in-universe series.
I was like, I've never heard of The Puritan. Yeah. But apparently it's like made up for this. So between her two jobs, she visits her gay bestie Leon at the Blockbuster he works at. She tells him that she got this big part. And
yeah, because she asks like who has got famous actresses who got their start in porn horror movies.
Or sorry, in horror movies, and then crossed
like
over to the
movie, or like just famous actors. Because then there was also John Travolta,
Brooke Shields, and she goes, and Maxxine fucking Minx, and she rents the first Puritan film so she can kind of study up for her role. She goes to her second job as a peep show dancer in this nightclub, and we see her anonymous client is a Giallo-style masked man in like a brimmed hat, like the very typical Giallo killer. And he is watching her. He has the leather gloves on, and he is so angry that he shakes with rage,
and he breaks like
rips the wood plank off the wall or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, the banister.
Yeah,
like to the window. Well, so then like Halsey is also working at the because Halsey's in this movie, guys. That's what her character's name is to me.
Yeah,
sorry, I don't know.
Her Halsey is she plays Tabby. Tabby is her character.
After the shift, they're walking. She's like, she also mentions like the party,
the Hollywood Hills party. Yeah,
and she's like, no, like I gotta go. I got this part in the movie. I gotta go like learn my lines. I gotta go like.
Yeah, how do you think that Halsey did? She was giving it a character voice. She kind of sounded like Harley Quinn.
Yeah, she was there. She was there. She was there. She was in the movie. She's not there for long. Spoiler.
I saw this. Side note, speaking of Halsey, I saw like some press for this movie. They were playing a game, and Halsey had to ask all of the other actors in this movie, like, can you name my first album? That was part of the game. And they all just start laughing because none of them can name it. And it's so fucking funny.
Oh, that's so funny.
I mean, like, damn.
I was gonna start with the easy one and watch Nobody Knows It.
I don't know.
Okay.
What was the name of my first album?
So then,
after she walks home,
she's being stalked. We see that Maxxine,
a guy with a switchblade knife,
is
stalking her in the alley, and he like kind of corners her into a dead end,
and then she pulls a gun on him.
Yeah, because she can take care of herself,
and she makes him strip,
and then she holds her gun out, and she goes,
makes him suck it.
And he has to give a blowjob to her gun. I loved this scene. I thought this was such a fucking cool scene. And then she makes him lay down on the ground.
She crushes his balls.
This was so fucking rad, dude.
She's gross.
With her stiletto.
Graphic.
She has her stiletto heels literally crunched down on his balls.
I hated it.
I fucking loved this shit.
So uncomfortable.
Loved this shit.
Then I had to go to the bathroom.
And then this is when Steve went pee. So
because I did not see. I was like, I have to go to the bathroom. I was like, I'm sorry. That was a moment. I need to take a breath and also go pee
and decompress. Maxxine, she goes back home after stomping this guy's balls off, and she does not go to that party because she wants to rest up for her new role. But she discovers a spooky VHS tape with her name on it on her front doorstep. And when she puts it on the
it's
TV,
police evidence
from the first movie. It is the farmer's daughter.
And it's her having sex
the
with...
movie that they made during X.
What was his name?
Jackson.
It's
after she did the scene in the barn.
Yep.
Milking the cow.
Where she has the little bandana and the pigtails
on. And so she's like, oh, what the fuck? This is the first time we see Maxxine be rattled at all. Even though she's been threatened with a knife. This is what is freaking her the fuck out.
I did see this, so I think I went to the bathroom after this, because I remember her getting the tape.
So, we then see camera footage of Amber and Tabby, her friends, Halsey and the blonde porn star girl. They are all tied up, and they have been abducted by some spooky cult. They're all these people are in robes, and it's just like all these... This scene was very disturbing.
I didn't see this. I did not see.
Yeah.
This is what I missed.
It was like them making them do stuff that's like really degrading and stripping down, and they're just kind of being human trafficked, basically. And they're screaming, and it was, just disturbing.
I didn't see it. Maybe I'm glad I had to go to the bathroom.
Well, hey, that happens sometimes. Again, we gave that disclaimer at the beginning of this pod.
I apologize.
This isn't going to be a perfect outline this time.
But you thought it was disturbing, and so if you thought it was disturbing, I probably would have too.
Yeah. The next day, police find those two bodies of Tabby and Amber.
Yeah.
They have each been branded on their face with satanic stars.
Yeah.
We meet the
and they think it's connected to the Night Stalker.
Yeah, so
that's
that's where the Night Stalker crime comes into play in this movie. Which basically, spoiler alert, but it's a red herring. That's all that was.
Yeah.
We meet the two FBI agents, Torres and Williams, who are in charge of solving the case. And they think it might be connected to the Night Stalker murders. Maxxine has to get a mold done of her head, because they're going to do like a fake decapitated scene with her character.
Yeah.
So the like makeup artist or whoever, special effects artist, puts the kind of clay or whatever the fuck it is over Maxxine's whole head.
And she leaves, which is like, you're not supposed
to do that. Yeah, she puts a timer on and is like, I'll be right back, Maxxine. So
which don't do that.
Don't do that. Yeah, what if she couldn't breathe? At first I was thinking, she's gonna
Well, the
suffocate.
thing is, like, because I've done that before. I've gotten my face molded, like a face cast done before, and you're supposed to, like, I remember, like, they gave me, like, a straw to breathe through. I was, like, very confused. I was like, you're supposed to just do it, because it's so easy to just, like, fix around the lips.
Right.
So, like, I was very weird the way that they did it.
Yeah.
But...
Well, it just kind of sets up this spooky scene where... At first I was like, is she going to get attacked by the Night Stalker or whoever the killer was at that point?
Yeah.
But she just starts having flashbacks to X, the first movie.
And, like, Pearl feeling up on her.
Yeah,
and
Pearl rubbing up on
just
her.
even, like, all the everything she did, and so she just has like a full panic attack and
Panic
falls,
attack.
and
Falls off
then
her
the makeup
chair.
artist comes back and is like, "Oh my god, are you okay?"
Yeah.
And it's like, "Bitch, why'd you leave?"
But this is clearly just to show us Maxxine still has trauma that she's still trying to overcome from X. Like, she isn't, perfect.
Yep.
She hasn't completely healed yet. Which, I mean, if I went through what Maxxine went through in that first movie, I don't think I'd ever completely heal. So, good for her trying to get through it, That's the thing about Maxxine, is that she is very resilient.
Yes.
And afterward, she finds a note on her windshield. Like, it's stuck under her windshield wipers.
Yeah.
And it has a number. It says, "For a good time, call this number." And then it has pictures of Maxxine, I think from The Farmer's Daughter.
Yes.
So she's like, oh God, this is the stalker guy. I better call him. So she calls, and it leads her to meet up with this guy named Labatt, who is a private investigator, played by Kevin Bacon, who I was surprised to see in this movie.
Yeah.
I loved this character. He was real. I can't do his voice, but he had a real like Creole kind of accent, like real deep South, like New Orleans kind of accent. And he was hired by somebody. We know it's the killer because we saw him like talking to like the masked guy.
Yeah.
But they're blackmailing Maxxine. Because they have all this evidence of her previous crimes, aka when she had to kill Pearl in self-defense, that no one knows about. And they're saying that her whole secret will be revealed unless she meets with his employer, and that she has to go to this specific address. It was like Starlight Drive or something.
Yeah.
Or she might risk repercussions. He also is asking her, like, if she feels guilty for what she's done, like, as a Christian, and is kind of fucking with her, like, playing on her insecurities as that being her, like, her background.
Yeah.
I also thought this was a fun fact. He's talking about the events that transpired in X, and we learned Pearl and Howard's last name was Douglas.
Oh.
Fun fact. She has a last name. I was just calling her Pearl.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Pearl and Howard Douglas. She gets stopped out on the street by the two detectives.
Yeah, when she's like trying to go back to her house.
Uh-huh. And they're asking her about Tabby and Amber's deaths. And what if because apparently Maxxine was the last person to have seen them.
Yeah.
Or have talked to them.
And they bring up that like they're co-workers of hers. The guy cop's kind of being like a pig.
Yeah, exactly.
He's
trying to play bad cop.
But he's such like an
But
ass.
he's doing it way too aggressively.
And he's so like kind of like sexist and like degrading towards her like line of work of being a sex worker.
Yeah, it's very 80s misogynistic asshole. And his partner, the woman, she keeps telling him, like, under her breath, like, okay, chill. Like dial it back.
Like,
and we
you're gonna
learned
piss her
that
off.
he wanted to be an actor at one point. He used to, like, go out and do auditions.
Yeah.
So he's kind of using his role as a detective to infuse
Play
it with his
that
acting.
character.
Yeah, he's putting on characters. Exactly. And Maxxine refuses to comment or to even
she's like,
talk
I
to
don't
them.
talk to cops.
I don't talk to cops. And she's just trying to lay low right now because she just got this big role.
She's like,
I do not need to ruin this and have my laundry aired out right now. Yeah. She goes to the movie shoot, and we meet her director, Elizabeth Benda, who's fucking British, babes. And she's got, like, a fucking swoop back, kind of pixie cut, cunt, power lesbian haircut.
Yes, I love her. And she really has taken a liking to Maxxine.
You can tell, because she's very stern. She's, and all of the people on set are very afraid of this director because she's apparently, like, just a hard ass.
Yeah.
But, I mean, she knows what she's doing.
Yeah. And I really like this character. She's one of the characters that's introduced in this film that I just really, really like.
Mm-hmm. They're driving around on a golf cart, and she's telling her, like, look, Maxxine, this is the expectation. Like, you need to fucking be willing to do whatever it takes. Or I will replace you. It was very Abby Lee Miller.
And she's very much like,
Everyone's
this
replaceable.
Is like, yeah, Hollywood is a monster.
It will chew you up.
And it'll spit you out just like that. So don't screw it up. You gotta love coming here and you gotta want to do it.
And she tells her, like, look, I know this is just a horror sequel, but I'm trying to push the limits of what we can do as far as, like, theming. I want to call out the religious people who are trying to push back on violence and sex right now and kind of do a commentary and call them out. Yeah. And that's why it's very important to her that Maxxine, like, nail the role, because a lot is riding on her shoulders. So you feel the pressure for sure that Maxxine does. She needs to deliver.
Yeah.
She has to. And they visit the Psycho set. It's like the Bates Motel and Mrs. Bates's house in the background. Mm-hmm. And Maxxine starts hallucinating, seeing Pearl in the window. Which I thought this was really cool because Mrs. Bates is the original kind of like old lady killer.
Yeah.
I mean, we find out that it's Norman, of course.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah. And her design is very Pearl.
Yeah.
Old lady, white hair.
Yep.
White nightgown
vibes.
Yeah. But this is kind of distracting Maxxine, and like Elizabeth's trying to give her direction, and she's like, Maxxine, are you even listening to me? And she notices, okay, something's going on in Maxine's head, and she tells her that she needs to be listening and to not let outside things affect her. Like, for this shoot, you cannot have things going on in your personal life.
Yeah. Then when driving away, Maxxine notices Labat
or something.
Labat following her on the way home. And she gets out and she uses her keys as like iron knuckles to fucking like beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, and threatens him to like leave her alone. And then when she gets home, this is a cool sequence.
Yeah.
She's highlighting lines in her script. Mm-hmm. And all the lines have very like foreshadowing,
like cryptic things
vibes
that'll happen.
It's like everyone you are associated with will perish. Meanwhile, we see her friend Leon at the video store he works at.
And somebody comes in
and approaches him for like sex work.
Yeah.
Sex favors. And he says, I don't do that work anymore. So that's when we draw the conclusion, okay, he's gay and he used to hook, basically.
Yeah.
He was a sex worker at one point.
Yep.
And so he gets like creeped out and he decides to close the store early.
Yeah.
But our Giallo killer
is in the store.
Yes. He's right behind him.
And he starts killing Leon.
He slashes the back of his neck
to like start, and then like just starts cutting up his face.
Slashes down his eye, and then Leon's wearing like an upside down cross,
and he rips that earring off,
and he rips the earring right off his earlobe. Yeah, this movie is gory. I think.
Yeah.
I think and so we can talk about it now because that was the perfect scene to bring this up.
Yeah.
The fact that this is inspired by Giallo films.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I'm not the most familiar with Giallo, but I just kind of know of it as a subgenre.
If you took a shot every time you said Giallo this episode, I'd be fucking wasted.
But Giallo movies always have a killer who's dressed like this. It's always a whodunit. It's always super gory, and it exists in a world where very kind of ostentatious and ridiculous things can happen, and it's very stylized, and it's always a female character.
Yeah.
Female main character.
Yeah.
So, and very crime drama, and I kind of had the feeling, I was like, okay, Giallo vibes. And then when I went home after this movie, stop, why are you laughing?
Just the word Giallo is making me laugh.
It is a fun word. It means, the reason why it's called Giallo is because Giallo means yellow, and the original books were always yellow. They were like pulp novels that genre kind of comes from.
Gotcha. The next day, Maxxine is leaving her apartment and then notices a crime investigation. Okay, and this I thought was a little weird because I'm like, what kind of crime investigation would do this? They're wheeling out a body that's covered up, and then they like show the
Maxxine.
crowd.
Yeah.
The, like, body that it's Leon's body all like cut up.
I thought that was weird.
I was like,
but I think, now thinking back on it, I think that investigator really wants Maxxine's involvement. And so she saw Maxxine in the crowd there and did it to kind of get a rise out of Maxxine.
Yeah.
Just kind of see her reaction and see if she'll now go in for questioning.
yeah. What she does. They take her to the police station, and isn't this when they show her the bodies of the character of Tabby and
Amber.
Amber, or whatever the fuck their names were, Halsey and the blonde girl.
Mm-hmm.
And the female cop is really trying to get Maxxine on her side and is like, don't you want to help us save the next girl? And Maxxine says, how about the next girl save herself? That's what I did.
That's what I did. I'm like, okay. Also,
And so she leaves.
I think that right before that, too, now that I'm remembering, didn't they give her, like, a Coca-Cola from the vending machine? Because she probably was like, I want some Coke. And they gave her, like, a...
Yeah.
Because Maxxine loves Coke.
Yeah.
That's what I assumed happened, probably. Maxxine decides to visit her agent, Teddy.
I love this.
He was great, yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, I thought he was gonna die the whole time. And he doesn't!
He lives! Which is kind of spoilery, but this
I
character's
don't care,
rad.
he's so good. So everyone just love him.
He's such a funny, like, agent. He kind of reminded me of the agent from Friends, Joey's agent, Estelle. Who's always, like, up to shit.
Yeah.
Because he's always, like, on his, like, little stationary bike every time Maxxine calls him.
Yeah.
And Vivian told us that this guy's from Breaking Bad, I
Yes.
guess. So,
I
he
forget
did
which
such a good
character,
job.
but he's one of the main guys, like, in season 2 or 3.
Very kooky character. Very typical, like, campy, I'm your agent. I'll go to bat for you. Da-da-da-da.
And she makes sure that he's confidential because he's technically a lawyer.
Yeah, because he represents her.
Yeah, and so...
So she confides in him what happened in X and what is going on now in this movie.
And how she is being blackmailed. And he's like, oh, you don't worry about him.
I'll take care of it.
I'll take care of that.
I'll take care of it, yeah. So then, somewhere around this time, Maxxine is out walking on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and she puts her sig out on Theta Bera's star.
Yeah.
Which is a cool callback to Pearl, because we know that Pearl's alligator was named Theta after Theta Bera.
Yep.
She passes a strip mall too at some point, and we see like a shop that's offering karate classes, people taking karate classes.
Yeah.
We also see a shop that's selling army uniforms.
Yep. And then we see a group of religious protesters outside of the studio.
So karate, army, religious protesters. Yeah. These are all groups, activity-led groups.
Yeah.
That will come up later. Just keep that in mind, that they keep showing us this representation of
groups.
People in groups. Then on the set for The Puritan 2, they film a scene with the returning actress from the first movie, Molly. And I wrote, Lily Collins' British accent is diabolical. Did you notice this?
No.
Bitch was going in and out of like 30 different fucking... She was Cockney at one point. She was from Manchester at one point. She was Essex at one point.
Essex.
Which I've never liked this. Lily Collins. I think it's Phil Collins'
What the fuck
daughter.
is she in?
She's the girl with the really thick eyebrows.
Yeah, but what is she in? What else is
Girl,
she
I don't remember, but I have never liked her.
Let me look
and
up
I
what
said,
she's
oh my
in.
god, her British accent is diabolical.
I didn't really care for her character.
Mm-mm.
Lily Collins. What the fuck is she? Well, she is British. Oh, she's British American. What the fuck does that mean?
Then she has no excuse.
What the fuck does that
She
mean?
has no excuse for these
35.
bad accents.
Like, what is she in? Emily in Paris. What the fuck is that? Mirror, Mirror. Didn't watch it. Blindside. Oh, was she the daughter in Blindside?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's all I know her from.
She's the daughter.
I got Maxxine, I guess, but she was in this show.
But she was doing a scene with blood makeup, and the director, Elizabeth, calls cut, and she's like, oh, that makeup is diabolical. And she goes up and she adds more blood to Molly's face for the next take.
Yeah.
And she's like kind of to herself kind of complaining like, oh, if you want something done in this business, you've got to do it yourself. Molly and Maxxine meet each other, and they chat as they go back to Molly's trailer.
Yeah. And Molly mentions a party in the hills that night.
Yep. Uh-oh. So Molly goes into her trailer. Maxxine looks over and she notices Labatt, Kevin Bacon, is standing there. And they have this standoff. And they're literally on like an old Western style movie set. And the music is very Western vibes. And he kind of have his hand on his gun. And it's just very like Clint Eastwood vibes.
And he chases her up to the Psycho house.
Uh-huh. She hides in the Psycho house.
And then a security guard, in the nick of time, catches the bot as he's trying to go into the house.
He plays it like, oh, I'm lost.
Yep, and then he escorts him away.
So Maxxine's able to
get
away.
Elizabeth meets up with Maxxine and can tell that she's still distracted. And she says, you need to take the weekend and you need to squash any distraction that is going on in your personal life right now. And what does Maxxine say?
I intend to. She's so cool.
Maxxine,
such a cool girl.
With some really good makeup. She looks so good.
Yeah, it was very avant-garde, like that, like a red kind of stripe over her eyes. Yeah. Super kind.
She is at a club, and I will say, okay, if you have seizures or you don't like flashing lights,
trigger warning for epileptic people.
This was like, movies need to start having warnings, because I was surprised this movie did not have a warning, because this was like, even me, I was
super
like,
strobe.
I can handle strobes, but I was even like, this is a lot right now. This is a whole strobe scene.
She's luring him out to the alley behind the peep show, and Teddy, her agent, and she has like a friend who works security at the club.
Yep.
Corner Labatt
and knock him out.
They knock his ass out. This is probably my favorite scene.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I was taking a drink. Yes, this is my favorite part. This was so good.
He wakes up in his car.
And he is handcuffed to...
like the wheel.
The steering wheel.
And the car has been placed inside of a junkyard hydraulic press. And they literally squash him to death.
Yeah.
This was such a cool ass
scene. It was
scene.
so fun. This is like my favorite death.
Sickening.
This was funny.
And I love that because her director had just told her, squash whatever's on your mind.
She's like,
I intend to, and then she goes and she literally squashes him in a presser machine.
And then the agent and the bodyguard are like, we'll take care of this. You go do what you need to do.
They have like dogs that start like eating
up the like blood and the guts that came out.
Yeah.
And then this is when Maxxine realizes that every person she's talked to who is a victim, with the exception of Leon, mentioned going to the Hollywood Hills. And the last person to mention it was Molly.
Yeah.
So she's like, shit.
And then she also realizes that the address on that envelope that she was given that she needs to go to, they told her, like, we'll keep blackmailing you until you come to this address.
Yeah.
That's in the Hollywood Hills.
Yeah.
It's like right behind the Hollywood sign.
Yeah.
So she decides to go out and she's going to address the killer.
Right in front of the Hollywood sign.
Right in front of the Hollywood sign?
Yeah, the Hollywood sign's like right behind it.
Oh, okay. She is going to address the killer head on. I also thought this was her, Maxxine, taking the matters into her own hands. Her director had said in a previous scene, if you want something done, you have to do it yourself. So I think she has that in the back of her mind as well. She goes to this like big mansion. Meanwhile, those detectives are like following her behind her, like discreetly.
And she has to go up this like weird like trolley.
Yeah, like kind of like a
little lift.
It's ski like lift kind of vibe up to this house, and she goes into this like it's kind of a cool, I don't know, like Art Deco kind of house.
Yeah.
And she goes up the stairs. She's led into this room by the audio from the home movie footage of her as a little girl.
And there's like suitcases like at the top of the stairs.
Suitcases sitting at the top.
Just no on that.
But it's from when she was a little girl.
Yeah.
The video doing the little dance from Pearl. And this is when we get our killer reveal.
Yep.
It is her dad, the evangelical preacher from X.
Which I predicted really quickly.
Which I literally looked over 5 minutes of the movie and said, it's going to be her dad.
Which I kind of made sense because Pearl had the relationship with her mother.
That
Maxxine had the relationship
crazy.
with her father. I kind of expected that.
There to be... And I knew when in the first scene where it's her dad videotaping her...
That's when they got it for you.
I was like, he's going to be in this movie. He's probably going to play a big part.
Yeah.
And then when the killer...
Because I'm not going to lie, I thought when she first went to the guy to meet for dinner, I thought that was who ends up being the, like...
Kevin Bacon guy?
I thought Kevin Bacon was going to be the father. I thought it was the father at first. I know we'd seen him in the first movie. I just didn't remember
Forgot what he looked like.
I was like, they could have just got somebody else, but...
I thought this was... Again, like, was it predictable? Yeah, but I didn't need it to be a big twist.
I didn't need a big twist. I wasn't going in expecting a big twist.
It made sense. And for the killer, I think when I really knew it was her dad was when she's doing the peep show and the killer goes and visits her for the first time. And he's very angry.
That's what I thought too.
I'm like, oh, why is he angry about her doing a peep show? Oh, maybe it's her dad. Yeah, okay, yeah, no, it's probably her dad because he's super religious.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I liked that it ties it back to that moment because it then makes the whole preacher storyline in X not as much of a throwaway. Because I always felt like that was kind of a throwaway in the first movie. But this adds some context to it. Yeah. And works with the theming of this. So we'll get into his motivation. Right? So he is making his own movie. He is trying to expose
Hollywood as a cult.
As a cult, he says. And how it corrupts people. And he's gonna... It's basically like inadvertently he has started a cult.
Yes.
Trying to take down the cult.
I think we'll get into it a little bit more when we get a little bit like further into what goes on. But like it kind of, for me, it gives this whole like... I think it's very like... something that's very relevant now, especially where we're at. Just this idea of like, if everything's a cult, nothing is. Yeah. Because it's so, like, these people, religious groups are so quick to call everything they don't like or they disagree with a cult.
Yeah, or you're being brainwashed or this and that.
And
it's like literally
in a cult.
A cult. Yeah.
Like every religion is a cult.
It's a cult.
But even like you got the tie of like the army uniforms. Like the army is a cult. Yeah. They have a strict core values that people stick to.
Organized groups. Karate. Yeah.
It's like sporting, it is a cult. Like because they're like, oh yeah, we learn fighting techniques, but it's only for self-defense purposes. Like and it's they just have like core beliefs that they like you stick to when you go through karate, stuff like that. Like there's a lot of things like that. So it's like, but it's like if you're calling everything a cult, then nothing is a cult.
Then what is a cult? Yeah, exactly. Like, exactly.
Especially when it's like you're literally claiming to be this religious man, but you're so like fixated on exposing this cult that you're literally killing people.
Yeah, it's the hypocrisy of religion. Yeah, exactly. I think that's the.
Do you say hypocrisy?
Theme. Hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy.
Did I say hypocrisy?
You said hypocrisy.
Girl, I'm high. You know I got high.
Oh, girl, you know I'm hypocrisy.
Girl, that's why I call it hypocrisy. Hello.
Hypocrisy.
But yeah, so first of all, he's acting crazy. Do we like his performance? Her dad?
I thought he was too extreme.
I think they maybe needed to dial him back.
If he was going to get there, it needed to be later.
Build it up a little bit.
Because he was like, he was
crazy eyes. Crazy eyes right off the bat.
It's like, ooh, like, take the note. Like, sometimes when you widen your eyes like that, it gives, like, crazy eyes and not sexy.
Aubrey O'Day.
I get this critique all the time, so I'm just passing it along.
It was very Aubrey O'Day to Alyssa Edwards on season 5.
I thought he was fine. It's just like when I'm comparing it to like another movie in the series where there was another parent figure, which was Pearl. I just liked her performance more. I think she did it better. Like, it's just when you start at the 10, it's really hard to like.
I'm already like, whoa.
Yeah, woo. Ooh,
don't make that face.
Oh, don't make that face. Ooh.
Like, why are we yelling?
Yeah.
So.
But he backs her up against the briefcase.
And it falls down the stairs and it opens and fucking Molly's head pops out. And she has that scream face on.
Yeah. Which I liked.
Funny. It was
that
funny.
Was cool.
So Molly's dead.
It was her whole like disembodied
body. They like
up in there.
Yeah. So, damn. So I'm assuming for her the reason they killed her is because she was in the first Puritan, which was the movie they were protesting.
Because it's blasphemy.
It's blasphemous.
Yeah. So that's pretty wild. Maxxine gets knocked out by her dad, and then she wakes up to find that she has been tied up to, was it a tree or like a pole?
I think it was the tree.
I can't remember, but it was some kind of sacrificial pole out by the pool in the backyard. And he's
gonna like perform an exorcism on her.
Yeah. Well, there's all these religious followers surrounding her in robes. So these are the people who were in robes when Halsey and whoever was getting tortured. Then the dad talks about how he has been using the Night Stalker case to kind of disguise what he's been doing and make it look like Hollywood is the culprit, kind of.
While he's literally has a cult.
Yeah, while he's the one who's been killing people.
It's literally just like, dude, do you not see what you are doing? Like,
yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
What we talked about in Get Out, people who are so trying hard not to be racist that inadvertently they become racist.
Yes. It's like, Jesus.
It's very that. And, he tells the camera, you're all about to witness an exorcism. He threatens to brand Maxxine with a satanic star, like a fire poker brander
he says
thing.
He does it so that, like, the devil can no longer hide.
Yeah. Which is so culty.
Very weird and culty. Yeah.
And so she doesn't repent. He's going to brand her face, which, would not only be horrible, but also there goes her acting career. She'll never work a day again in her life if she's got a big scar on her face. I was like, oh, not her moneymaker. Not Maxxine's moneymaker.
Yeah. And
the detectives pop out. Thankfully. They followed her there.
Yeah.
And there's this huge showdown sequence. It gives Maxxine time to cut herself down from the pole. She has like a knife in her pocket that she uses to untie herself.
The cops, it's a good shootout. They're like getting all the like people.
Yeah. It was a good like... It was like a...
80s... It was very 80s
80s
action.
Action sequence. Yeah. The detectives managed to take down all of the religious followers.
There's a good part where like Maxxine slips into a pool. And like one of the big guys like grabs her and she like stabs him through the nose. Oh, it's so good.
That was gnarly.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So she gets out and then like the two detectives are chasing after
the dad.
The dad. And they're telling Maxxine like, oh, just stay here, like
it's fine, we can handle it.
We can handle it. And she's like,
Maxxine knows, like her director said, you want to get something done, you do it yourself.
And so she grabs somebody's like shotgun. That like one of the cult members that died.
She pursues the cops to the Hollywood sign, which is a really cool setting for this final showdown.
Which is cool, but for anyone who's never seen the Hollywood sign, I've seen it before. I went to Griffith Park.
Which is the Griffith Park
I went to the Griffith Park Observatory, where they filmed that scene from the movie Rebel Without a Cause.
Rebel Without a Cause. And it's less impressive, IRL.
It's so... Yeah. It's like, I was like, where is it? That's it? It's not big, y'all. It's not that big.
Yeah.
I'm sure, like, when you're up next to it, it's huge, but it's like... I was like, oh... I thought it was, like, huge. I thought it was, like, going to be big as fuck.
Yeah, I've heard that it's kind of derpy in person.
It's really, like, ow. It's literally... She knows her angles. It's like a grinder hookup. Where you're like,
knows her angles.
This is gonna be great. You're like,
she knows how to take up the butt pick.
And then you get there and they take it off and you're like, is there more underneath or is that it?
That's literally the Hollywood sign. She's like, when you take a butt pick and you like arch your back so fiercely.
Twinks.
She's a twink taking a butt pick.
I can't say anything. I'm literally a fucking twink. But I actually do have a butt.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. You do, girl.
I do. I have a little butt.
You got the badonk.
I have a little booty. I mean, it's like, it's a booty.
For a twink.
I have a booty.
You have
but
a
it's still like a little booty,
Yeah. Maxxine finds the male cop fatally shot. And this is kind of sad. He's like, I wanted to be an actor once too, like you. And then like dies. Yeah.
Okay, this also kind of made me laugh. Keaton thought it was funny too. we like hear like some shots go off, and then the female cop stumbles out with a crucifix in her eye.
Her eyeball, and she's like, "Whoa!"
And she just falls, and it's like,
and
Maxine's just kind of like, okay, and she just keeps going, and we see that her father has been shot, and he is on the ground, and he is like, he can't move. He's not gonna be able to like get her, and she is holding that gun to him, and then all of a sudden, the backup shows up, the police in the helicopter, and they're shining the light, and they're yelling, "Drop your weapon,
Maxxine! It's over!"
And then we get this sequence that
I clocked as a dream sequence in 2 seconds. It's like Maxxine imagining being super famous following the events of this.
Yeah.
She's doing press for the movie, talking about the horrors she had to go through with her dad.
Yeah.
And then she's at the premiere.
She sold the rights to her life for a movie.
For like a biopic. Yeah. And she's just a fully fledged star like she always wanted to be. And then, but we see this was just a vision Maxxine is having while confronting her dad, which, again, I
did actually kind of like this, though, because for me, for a second, it did kind of subvert me to be like, oh, she doesn't, like, kill her dad. Oh, no.
Nah, I was like, there's no way Maxxine wouldn't just kill her dad.
But then, she blows his head off.
Blows his head off. But before she does that, she drops I thought this was a cunty line of, "Daddy, you gave me exactly what I needed. Divine intervention." And then, blows.
Yes, because he gives this kind of speech of like, "Oh, I failed a child. Like, that's the worst thing I could ever done. Is like everything that you became is because of me." And she's like, "But she like why you're so upset about how her life turned out?" But she's not.
She's like, "No, you instilled in me determination. You told me that I will not accept a life I don't deserve."
That's the thing, and I think that's kind of like...
because in that regard, he is more successful as a parent than Pearl's mom was.
Yeah.
Who just taught her, like, just kind of give up and accept the life that you have.
Yeah.
And make it work.
Yeah. Make the best of what you have.
Mm-hmm. Whereas this guy was like, no, you go out and get exactly what you want and be willing to do whatever it takes to get it. He just had other prospects in mind for her.
Yeah.
But she blows his head off, which I think is also very reminiscent of her running over Pearl's head, like smashing it like a pumpkin.
Gone. Like, there's no chance of him coming back.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's done.
He's blown to smithereens. Then we see
1 month later.
Maxxine's in her trailer. She's doing more coke like always. She gives herself the line now, but this time it's "You're a fucking movie star." We see her on set. She's got her little like Marilyn Monroe wig.
Yep. And
she is filming for the movie, and they're having a moment of silence for Molly.
And this is kind of funny because they're kind of like, a few of them are like looking back and forth like, are we done?
Yeah, that was really funny. Let's wrap it up.
And then like the PA or something is like, okay,
all right,
let's wrap it up, everyone.
Yeah. Elizabeth tells Maxxine she looks like a true Hitchcock blonde, which I liked because that's referring to Janet Leigh and all the... Basically, Hitchcock always had like a blonde lead in his movies. And that also ties in the whole like Psycho. We went to the Psycho set, and I feel like there's been little hints of Psycho all throughout this X trilogy, so I liked that nod to Hitchcock.
Then she says that Molly was good, but Molly wasn't a star.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of like, if you think of like, Elizabeth really loves... really Maxxine. I think as soon as she heard her accent and she's like, is that a real accent? She's like, oh,
she has the charisma. She has the X factor.
Love that.
She has the X factor.
That southern drawl. People are just gonna eat that up.
And in this moment, I'm pretty sure we finally see what happened at the end of Maxine's audition for this movie. She got up from her chair, and then she turns back around.
Yeah,
and she goes, "Y'all should pick me for this movie. I'm a fucking star. The whole world."
Because they asked, why?
Yeah, she says, "I'm a fucking star. Whole world's gonna know my name," and just confidently walked out. And again, that's continuing the determination that she always had, that her dad instilled in her.
Yep.
So, yeah, bittersweet vibes there. But really cool to see Maxxine achieve her dreams. She's definitely going to be a huge star.
Yeah.
They're filming a scene with the fake decapitated head that they had made of her. It's laying on a bed, and Elizabeth asks Maxxine what she's wanting now.
Yeah.
And Maxxine says, for it to never end. And then, as it zooms in on the fake head, it plays Betty Davis, Eyes by Kim Carnes, which is such a fucking good song.
Such a good song.
And yeah, it zooms in on the fake head, and the end.
I loved it.
I loved it too.
I really liked
So fun.
it.
Yes, I know I talked about some of my negatives with it at the beginning, but actually going through this outline,
it made me just really be like, oh, I can't wait
made
to
me
watch
appreciate
it
it more.
I just can't wait to watch it. It was fun.
I recommend it.
As there as much theming as the other two? No, I don't think so. But there is some there, and I think it does make good commentary on stuff, especially like the religious cult shit, because we see it so much like a day nowadays with people being like, the LGBTQ plus community is a cult. The libraries are a cult.
Yes,
schools are a cult. Like,
That's
everything's a cult, and it's all coming from these religious groups. So it's like, bitch,
You're the biggest cult.
You're literally the cult.
Yeah,
Like, calm down.
Exactly. Which I love. I always vibe with that. I think that's what's fun about horror movies is that we can push the boundary of what we're able to comment on.
Yeah.
And that's
I
something
think
that's
that's
explored in this
also
movie.
why it's kind of important, because again, still horror movies that don't really get the respect they deserve, especially like Maxxine or like this whole series, like, because people still like the Academy literally posted like just the other day clips of Pearl like and I'm like, wait, why are y'all posting
But
about
y'all
her
did not even nominate her.
So I'm like,
Fuck
wait,
y'all.
so y'all will, and so I think it's also kind of a commentary on that of like horror movies can say so much and are more than just like the scares.
Yeah.
And they're still not getting the respect that they really should.
There's an extra or something in this movie, and I can't remember. But someone at some point was like, oh, you're trying to get substance in a horror movie? Like, good luck. Or you're trying to become a star out of a horror movie? Good luck. And I like that kind of self-awareness. Yeah. For sure.
Because that's also the thing is, like, Mia Goth has literally become so successful.
She's a huge star. Yeah. The whole world knows her name.
The whole world knows her name.
She has a really good meme right now from the premiere of this movie where she zones out. She's like, and then she just zones out and doesn't answer the question. She's great.
I was an actress, I would own a bakery.
And I'd call it Mamma Mia's.
If I wasn't an actor, I think I would own a bakery and I would call it Mamma Mia's.
I always forget that she's like so British IRL.
She's like not a real person.
Because I've only ever seen her talk like this in these movies. And then she like literally sounds like,
I thought you liked me.
she sounds like she's from fucking Harry Potter or something. I love it.
I do love her. I do love these movies. I really thought this was a good wrap up. You know, if they do more, awesome. I'm satisfied here. I think if they do more, I don't really need an expansion on Maxxine. I feel like her stories really come to an end.
Mm-hmm. Take me back to Pearl or give me something completely new.
I would like to see Pearl expanded on, or just, something completely different.
100%.
Like, do like an anthology series. Like, you can bring back Mia Goth, because I love her.
Yeah. Well, so what's your ranking of the X movies now that we've come this far?
I would say it's Pearl X,
Maxxine.
Yeah, as of
me
now,
too.
Listen,
Me too.
I've been able to see the other ones multiple times. This one I haven't.
Right, maybe Maxxine will grow on me. Honestly, talking about it with you now,
I really liked it. I mean,
has
I
made me
really
appreciate
enjoyed it. Like,
me too.
I left being like I said, I felt like a brand new person.
And great gore.
Great
if
gore.
you love gore and you love blood and guts like I do, you're gonna appreciate this movie.
hate blood and
You've
guts.
got balls being stomped on. You've got people being
Cut
up. You got somebody getting squished in a fucking hydraulic
That
press.
was the best one.
That was awesome. That was so sick.
Someone getting their head blown off.
Blown the
Pops.
fuck off. Pop like a balloon.
Just like that.
And I love that shit. I really do. So, yeah. Could not recommend not just this movie, but the X Trilogy
They're so
more.
good. Oh my god, that's the end of the series.
I know, I'm sad that we're
Oh,
now.
but We're going to summer camp next week.
Yes! Next week, we haven't exactly picked a lineup yet, so we can't say what exactly movie we're going to do next week.
But they're going to be summer themed,
camp themed, slumber party themed vibes. We're kind of going to be doing that vibe for like the rest of the summer. But yeah, so stay tuned. We've got some fun stuff in store for you. Thank you so much for joining us for the X series. We hope you enjoyed our coverage of it, because I certainly enjoyed it. I love this series.
So we hope you all had a great time with us today on Let's Scream. And we hope you had a fun time with us in Hollywood.
Everybody comes to Hollywood.
If Maxxxine was a Madonna song, it'd be Hollywood.
Please remember to follow the pod, like the pod, and leave a glowing review of the pod, of course.
And you can send us requests for future episodes as far as like what movies you want us to do. You can follow me at Parker_Will_C.
And you can follow me at StevieNash95 on Instagram. And you can follow our podcast at Let's Scream Pod on Instagram and on YouTube.
And Spotify. Period.
All right.
Until next time.
This has been
Let's Scream.
Bye.
Bye.